Firstly, I would like to honor the honorable member, Mr. Kruger, member of Portfolio Committee for Small Business Development, Prince Farad, the Director General of the Department of Small Business, Ms. Manzini, the leadership of Startup20 International here present. I greet you all. Startup20 task forces, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. We have worked together collaboratively across the G20 countries. The direction and support of the International Secretariat has been outstanding. Hard work and resilience of the Startup20 task forces have brought us to this point. There was nothing more comforting than knowing that behind us there is a minister and the whole department and its agencies deeply invested in the success of Startup20. I would like to congratulate the DG for her leadership in this regard. It gave us, when we were having difficult times, I looked to her and her team to give assurance counseling. The work of the Startup20 Engagement Group is twofold. On the one hand, it's forward-looking, shaping new recommendations and adjusting existing ones to be in line with previous adopted recommendations, and also with the nuances that the environment and the economies of the world would have presented to us. On the other hand, it is to review the extent of implementation of the adopted resolutions or declarations across the G20 country network. The Startup20 Engagement Group is 3 years old, started in India, Brazil, South Africa is the 3rd year. Therefore, it is young, it is an infant. Together with the youthfulness, there are challenges of limited administrative capacity, much more expected when you are young and infant. But the leadership and the will and the zeal of leaders has compensated for these gaps. There is a need to mature the group faster. There is a need to bring all G20 countries into the SU20 Engagement Group. We have not had the privilege of having all the G20 countries participating. And it's an objective we want to fulfill collectively as this group. There's equally a need to facilitate engagement of various startup ecosystems across the G20 countries. Last but not least, there is a need to engage in meaningful advocacy to advance the interests of startups and global entrepreneurship across the G20 platform. To accelerate the growth and development of this engagement group, we have decided to launch a more formal organization that will support the Startup20 Engagement Group. The Startup20 Engagement Group will continue to operate in the current format. However, it will be underpinned by a capable organization that will advance its programs. And it will be up to the engagement group whether to fully leverage that infrastructure to move forward. It is my privilege and honor to announce the Startup20 International Organization, which is the NPC, today. Over the next couple of weeks, we shall be looking at the interim directors who will actually be charged or responsible to ensure that the organization is fully established. In this regard, I would like to invite all the international secretariat members and delegates to join me on the stage for this symbolic announcement. The DG, you join us. Mr. Kruger, you join us. Carmen Boishoko, you join us. Akizito is here. Is he not here? That's all right. I think we shall all stand on my left. Part of the task of the interim directors will be to ensure that each and every country in the G20 platform is fully engaged in Startup 20 activities. This is not the work that a country that's hosting the presidency could fulfill, as you assist with development of policy recommendations. So collectively, through this platform, we shall be able to achieve this all-important goal of an inclusive engagement. In the case of South Africa, ladies and gentlemen, a lot of questions have been asked by local entrepreneurs, ecosystem leaders, and small businesses, asking us what will happen to this body of work that Startup 20 has been engaged in. The energy and the momentum of Startup 20 Engagement Group should not be lost. Instead, it should continue, perhaps albeit in a different form. To address the internal coordination challenge, we have decided to establish the organization Startup South Africa to enable to coordinate ecosystem and create the opportunities. Over the next few weeks, interim directors of Startup South Africa shall be appointed. Their task will be to ensure that Startup South Africa is fully established in the shortest possible time so that the work of Startup 20 continues, working hand in glove with the Startup 20 International. In this regard, I would like to call on all task force members to join me on stage. My request would be, because the stage is full, maybe they join us on the floor in the same style we did when we were at Birchwood Hotel. As we draw to the close of the program, our work is done. And now the baton moves to the United States, who is the next G20 presidency. To the Minister and the people of South Africa, thank you for giving us the opportunity to contribute. Our sincere gratitude goes to the G20 community for their unwavering support throughout our process. We have fought a good fight, we have finished the race, we have kept the faith. Thank you very much.
Don't be scared. All right, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, now for closing reflections on the summit, I would like to ask the DG, Tulisile Manzini, the DG of the Department of Small Business Development, to be on the stage for the closing reflections, and then we will wrap up for lunch and a further engagement, and I will further advise on the gala dinner tonight. Thank you very much.
The Minister of Small Business Development, Honorable Stella Ndabeni, Prince Fahad bin Mansour bin Nasser bin Abdulaziz Al Saudi, Chair of the Startup20, Mr. Jahana, Chair of SETFA, distinguished delegates, esteemed colleagues, entrepreneurs, Program Director, and all protocol observed. Before, I don't want also to forget the investors and partners from across the G20 and the African continent. A little more than 3 months ago, on the 22nd and the 23rd of July, we hosted the Startup20 midterm engagement at Birchwood Hotel and OR Tambo Convention Center. The objective of the midterm engagement were to share knowledge and best practices and to improve the draft policy papers developed by the different task forces. And the important takeaway from the SU20 midterm engagement was the realization of the importance of moving away from aid to investment, driving prosperity in all countries to foster inclusive growth rather than continue to develop more rules and regulation than stiffen growth and increase or growth exclusion. We agreed there that the policy papers should focus on policy recommendations that will drive self-sustainability. And that important consideration should be one, connectivity for all, especially for rural and underdevelopment areas. Policy recommendation that will create an ecosystem that will support inclusion, enable financial and market access solutions, and drive sustainability products and service effectiveness and efficiency. The need for a new innovative solution to all problems of lack of access to finance, market, sustainability, production efficiencies, and inclusion. Today, we again reaffirm the importance of a deliberate commitment to champion the success of young entrepreneurs, to foster partnership and trade support, to connect entrepreneurs, empower entrepreneurs across the geographies and MSMEs ecosystem, liaise with policymakers to create supportive business ecosystem, enabling entrepreneurs to thrive and continue to develop and expand the development agenda for especially young entrepreneurs. As entrepreneurs, policymakers, and ecosystem enablers, we were tasked under the SU20 to drive forward bold, collaborative solutions to elevate startup and MSME policy innovation. Collaboration, co-creation, and ecosystem enablement are the key words that were used yesterday as well as today by all the speakers, the panel members, and the entrepreneurs as they were making their different contributions. How to achieve this and make sure that it found expression in the recommendation from the different task forces developed by entrepreneurs, founders, investors, advocates for policy reforms, and also the ecosystem enablers. The recommendation, among all others, call for one, your global ecosystem integration to combat the isolation of startup through Global Ecosystem Exchange, the GEX, and the Global Entrepreneurship Learning Alliance, the GELA, which is designed to link the startups and MSMEs into global networks of learning, trade, and investment, ensuring that innovation systems are connected and visible in the global economy. The second one, the development of platforms to facilitate access to finance and unlock new capital flow through tokenized community finance. The third one, the harmonization of tax-intensive frameworks to foster equality and inclusion. The fourth one, seamless digital trade environment through centralized trade platforms and startup passport framework. And lastly, expanding credit innovation, utilizing alternative and inclusive data. The recommendations are futuristic, and you'll agree with me that they are also groundbreaking. They have the potential to fast-track ecosystem enablement, inspire change, and reimagine possibilities that should unlock a wave of innovation, enhance resilience, and drive sustainable growth. However, these innovations must be supported by appropriate enable policies and legislative frameworks. As G20 government, we need to progress at the same pace of entrepreneurial innovation to ensure that our legislative framework and policies remain relevant. Outdated legislative and policy frameworks stifle economic growth, create uncertainty, discouraging investment, fostering inefficiency, and they also hinder the economy's ability to adapt to modern challenges. In South Africa, we have initiated the development of a startup policy for high-growth, scalable startups. We are inspired by the SU20 deliberations and recommendation. Next week, Friday, which is the 21st of November, 2025, we co-host a global learning lab with the SA Startup Act movement to test and co-develop actionable startup policy measures and generate new actionable insight and learning from the SU20 and the G20 working group and the global policy expert to inform the SA startup policy design. Augmented by policy position emerging from the SU20 engagement over the past 2 days, we should find international benchmarks and customize this to our own specific condition, given peculiarities that we have as a country. Again, under South Africa's G20 Presidency theme of solidarity, equality, sustainability, let us continue to the collaboration and co-create ecosystem enablement that will accelerate cross-border market integration, digital innovation in trade, and equitable access for developing the economies by 2030. One of the critical messages that came during the discussions yesterday is that SU20 has been perfectly ingrained in the G20 as one of the important engagement groups and should start a process of institutionalizing to sustain the momentum. This will ensure that the startup remains part of global policy discourse for years to come. I thank you.
All right, thank you very much. A round of applause for the DG. So, ladies and gentlemen, as we come to a close of this very transformative SU20 summit, let us just pause and honor what has truly happened in this room. We've not just gathered, we've aligned. We've not just spoken, we've committed. And we're not just imagining a better future. We have begun building it together. And with that, we've reached the conclusion of our formal program. On behalf of the organizers, I want to extend my heartfelt thank you to all of our speakers, to all of our sponsors, our partners, and most importantly, to you, our delegates, for your active participation. And over the past 2 days, we've championed our theme, empowering startups and MSMEs, championing resilience, innovation, and sustainable growth. And on that note, ladies and gentlemen, lunch is now served. I'm sure we are all very hungry at this point in time. We encourage you to continue to interact with the exhibition, to continue to network, build, grow, get to know one another. And for those with invitations, remember that the Startup20 Awards Gala Dinner will be taking place at 7 p.m. tonight. And it has been an honor to be your master of ceremonies from me, Master Chaba Mphoswa. Thank you.